Hello and welcome to Avio's Journey. I'm super excited to be sharing with you today an interview that I did with David Ciccarelli, the CEO of Voices.com, where we talk about the new price structure, the new projects they're offering, everything that's going on at Voices.com, and the big news that's been circulating out there. So without further ado, let's dive right into it and take a listen. Before we get in there, though, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button, as well as the notification bell, and enjoy the show. All right, let's rock. All right, so I am here with my friend David Ciccarelli, the CEO of Voices.com. David, it is always a pleasure. Welcome to Avio's Journey, my friend. Thank you for joining today.
Hey, thanks for having me, Anthony. We're on Avio's journey together, just different ends of the spectrum in terms of running a business. We're both running businesses, but running the platform and you raising up the kind of next generation of talent and continuing to engage and serve clients yourself. So I think we're gonna have a great chat today.
No, thank you so much, David. I really appreciate it. And again, I wanted to just thank you so much for coming on. And now I know if you've been listening to me and my listeners, I'm sure they know who you are, but just for the sake of, I'm sure there might be some people who don't know who you are.
Sure.
Can you just give us a real brief kind of introduction to who David Ciccarelli is?
Yeah, well, as you mentioned, I'm one of the two co-founders of Voices.com. Going on nearly 20 years ago, I was in an audio engineering program, so that's my background, learning how to record, mix, and edit, produce music and sound, and of course, voiceovers. And that's how I met Stephanie, my dear wife now, and also the co-founder of Voices. She's a classically trained singer. So you could say we both come from industry and worked actively in it, and launched a small website back then that's attracted talent who wanted to feature themselves by kind of creating a profile, if you will. And at the same time, found a way that clients would find the service valuable. Hey, how do I get in touch with this person? Can I post a job and get auditions from multiple people? And really that is what it's become, is a two-sided marketplace where we're providing a venue where talent can showcase their skills and get work. And at the same time, clients can tap into really a global network of professional voice talent from all around the world, all walks of life, and bring those two parties together. And that's what we've been doing really from the get-go.
No, I love that. Thank you. And I love Stephanie. Your wife's amazing. I was fortunate enough to be on her podcast, and
Yeah.
She's just really wonderful and very kind. So she's really great. So that's awesome, man.
Oh, thanks so much. I'm sure she's listening right now, so I'll let her know.
That's good. All right. So I want to dive straight into, what we've kind of come here to talk about today. And I call it kind of like the email heard around the world. So tell us about these new things that are going on with Voices and some of the price structure changes that are happening. Kind of just lay it out for us.
Yep, for sure. So just in quick context, for years, as I said, going on almost 20 years, we've operated the marketplace where the client, we call it a talent marketplace, where the client posts the job and we match them up with the best suitable talent who can then audition for that job. And years ago, we started with this notion of, hey, well, it's hard to figure out like what's the price and kind of what's the client have in mind for the budget. So, but that was kind of part of the process. The client would list what their budget is, and then the talent would reply with an audition and their quote for what the work would cost. So let's call that the talent marketplace. Just this summer, as you know, we've kind of entered in almost more of the gig economy, if you will, which we refer to as the project marketplace. So almost flipping the model on its head. Instead of the client initiating the process, now the talent is creating project listings that include, yes, a title and a category and a description, also a price. So they're kind of outlining the scope of work and the price that they're committing to. So now it makes it even easier for a client to simply, browse and buy a number of project listings and go and hire a talent immediately. In both situations, the talent kind of receives an offer. Either you get awarded the job and sometimes there's a final script that's attached. It might be a little bit different. So there's an opportunity to go, yep, this is exactly as agreed. And then same thing with the project marketplace. An order is placed well, you actually get a chance to review the order and accept it before starting work. So just in case, maybe the word count is longer than you had put in your project listing, or the content you're perhaps uncomfortable with, any number of reasons. But of course, the vast majority of them are accepted, and work starts and in your studio and delivered through the platform. So those are the two ways: the talent marketplace and the project marketplace. Now, when we launched the project marketplace, one of the things, candidly, we're not the first ones to do this. There's TaskRabbit, there's Fiverr, there's Upwork. There's a number of, in other industries as well too, where the service provider, if you will, says, here's the scope of work that I can do at this particular price point. Now, if you look on some of the other large freelance marketplaces, one of the things that we have observed is that the starting at price, and the clients have kind of let us know this, is, I'm going to say, in most cases, a fifth to a tenth the cost. So dramatically kind of easier entry point.
Right.
And what we've realized is that clients are, while they're browsing the project listings, they're doing some of the comparison shopping themselves and saying, hey, I can actually hire the same talent on another platform, or I can hire other talent on another platform at a seemingly fraction of the price. Now, there's some nuance in there. The licensing might be different. Maybe the word counts are different, kind of what's included in the package, but the optics are, it's cheaper elsewhere, even though the sense is, oh well, Voices is a bespoke kind of purpose-built platform for voiceover, and therefore great professional talent. In some situations, and I can describe some of those use cases, the client just might be more cost conscious. And so that's one thing that kind of led to us realizing, hey, maybe there's situations where we didn't quite get this right by having this kind of arbitrary $100 minimum for every kind of work. Maybe it makes sense in a lot of these situations when someone's, as I described, kind of doing the comparison shopping, or the project is very limited in the scope of work. Or it's not even going to air for or used in any kind of classic business sense. And something like a scratch read or kind of a scratch track, but they just want a professional voice to kind of get an idea of how the video is going to come together. Well, in those situations, maybe something less than $100 might be more suitable for that particular client. So that's kind of the the news, if you will, is that we've enabled more flexibility for talent to start their project listings at prices below $100, and then as well going to, and haven't yet done, but going to likewise enable clients to, should their project kind of fit that bill, they can actually post a job looking for auditions, kind of really at any price point. So we want to try to capture as much as that demand, if you will, for voiceover work as possible.
No, I appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah, that is, so that kind of also leads me into my next question to talk to you about, because I think that, we've seen it. Goodness knows I have talked about it for years. And people, on both ends of the pricing spectrum, it's always very heated of a discussion. And just because, we're talking about this, I wonder, how is that going for you all? Like
I mean, listen, like in
because it's
terms
a
of
challenge.
pricing,
We all face it, we're talking about, should prices be outlandishly expensive, or should they be offered at a less expensive rate so there's more people that can get into it? What is the right answer? So I just wonder, as such a player in the market, how do you guys as a business make such a, I mean, it's a big decision. How do you make that decision, and what kind of, what are you feeling from it? Because I know, bless your customer service department must be having a time. So how do you manage that? Talk to me about it.
Yeah, well, I think it's the guiding principles behind how we make decisions. And the first and kind of foremost one is that the business is based on shared success. You might have heard me kind of describe this notion before, but it really is what we believe, right? I say, Stephanie and I came from industry. We've met so many of you already, virtually, face to face, at events over the years. We're in this for the long haul. So if our business is based on shared success, what does that mean? It means the more successful talent are, by landing more work, by building a portfolio of work that they can then showcase that attracts more clients, longer term relationships. Then by extension, it actually helps the business do well, at the same time. So the better we can do things for talent, the better we do as well too. And I think this notion of shared success is really at the heart of how we actually make decisions. We never want to make a decision that would be, harmful in any way. And so given that basis, we also look, okay, well, who are the customers that we're trying to serve? Now, there's professionals out there that they would never dream of replying to a job for, $25, $50, $75. That's not who this particular update is really designed for, frankly. It is the new talent, the aspiring talent who's looking to get into the business, and trying to match them up with, likewise, a client who has a very limited scope of work. So think of, maybe an update to a phone system or a simple voicemail message. Yeah. Maybe it's a student film. Maybe it's, it's a very, very limited in size and scope. And candidly, they can't afford a professional to pay $500 or $1,000 or $2,500 for. That's the top tier talent. So I think that's one thing. And maybe if I may kind of prove the point, I'd love to hear from you. Like, we all started from somewhere. Do you remember kind of what your first voiceover job was and what it paid, if you're willing to share that with the group?
And I actually and that's absolutely true. And I'm also, just for bringing up the telephone, that work too, because I think that's an interesting, just on a side note, so many people have kind of given up on battling AI, right, for pricing and things on these lower end jobs. But why should we give up against that? I mean, and I do think that's a really neat thing to think about as well. But yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, for me, that's been a big part of my business. And what I always instruct people, I mean, when you're first starting out, you have no leg to stand on. You've got to be able to get something. And I always used to say, my grandfather started business. I mean, you started by giving away services, by helping people learn and become, you become more trustworthy because they see how good you can do, and you can, then raise your prices. And I think that's something, that is very beneficial. And I do think that that's a neat thing that you guys are doing, is offering that that ability to people. Would you say that is there an idea, like a track that you would recommend, a voice actor like that's new, that finds voices, and now they've got, it's really, which I always think is cool, but the more options you get, I know, because I work with so many voice actors, it's confusing. So do you have any, like, what would you recommend? Voice actor comes to voices.com. How would you recommend they set up? Should they go all gigs, all the projects that you're offering? Should they be doing, like, should they do a little bit of all of it? Should they be doing a lot of all of it? Kind of go, I know that's a big question, but what kind of track should voice actors be now taking on voices?
Yeah, I definitely think having a profile, start with your profile, have that filled out, which means, the biographical information, get those demos uploaded. And then importantly from there, creating those project listings, those gigs, if you will, because the best thing about the project listings is you're really just in a wait and see mode. You get an order and then you fulfill the order. There's, other than the setup effort, there's no, subsequent effort, if you will, other than fulfilling the order, which is fantastic. So I think that's kind of the track I would suggest. But speaking of track, the clients are also on a track, and you use the really important word there, which is, you're kind of over delivering, and then they trust you. And we actually see that similar type of pattern of behavior, if you will, from clients where on the platform, they often start out with a small job, maybe limited budget, and then they build up from there. And we call that actually the trust sale. It's like they need to trust, is Voices the right place for me? If they post a job, am I even going to get any responses? I mean, there's a lot of unknowns from them. And then can they trust you as a talent to deliver on, that audition that you did? That's great that it sounded fantastic for 10, 15 seconds in an audition, or 30 seconds in an audition, but can you deliver that over maybe a 5-minute recording, a 10-minute recording, an hour recording? So they need to trust the entire process. So I think, for talent kind of getting started, I would definitely encourage, do both. Some people are really kind of nailing this project marketplace. They've got great imagery. They've got a great kind of description, that kind of, profile picture, project listing picture, and then creating packages, kind of the good, better, best, if you will, the essential, enhanced, and elite packages. Getting that set up, I think, is important, and then complementing that with responding to the jobs. Both are great ways. They're kind of two ways to get hired off of Voices.
No, I like that. I actually think it's a so, I do think that, and we've talked about this before, that it has been a challenge. I'm sure for you guys, it's a challenge you face every day, trying to get as much talent work
Mm-hmm.
as possible with so many mouths to feed out there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I do like this in the hope that there's a lot of people who might have been struggling on Voices to get work, that this gives them an opportunity to start getting some work.
Yeah.
At least that's when I saw this, I thought this would be a great way also to help people who are trying, but maybe not getting at those higher price points because they're just not there yet.
Yeah.
Mm,
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. There was a couple other reasons that I think, are behind the kind of why, why encourage, or why even kind of enable. Let's use it that way. I mean, talent can, quote above 100, above 1,000, below 100. Now what I've learned over the years, Anthony, is the more kind of freedom and flexibility that we provide, where talent has control over it, not these kind of arbitrary rules that are kind of set up. I think the more we can kind of break down those barriers, the better it has been for everyone.
yeah.
And so here's what another, data point, if I may, that kind of, led us to realizing. We actually surveyed clients, right? We have a whole research department that all they do is run surveys to the clients, advisory groups, kind of panels, and they also, conduct interviews. And what we uncovered in this survey was that 30% of our existing clients, these are active clients posting and hiring talent, 30% of them, so call it a third, have jobs that they have done under $100, but they don't post on Voices. So they have this work, but they're going somewhere else to get it done. And why is that? Because of this, hindrance that we had in place. So we thought, well, do we want to be the kind of platform where we can do and serve all of their work, and
Right.
they can find a talent for them, irrespective of size or scope of work, or perhaps limited budget in this situation? And our answer was yes. We want to be able to help them all the time, not just some of the time. So I mean, having a third of your client base that
That's
has this need from time to time is pretty meaningful.
That's massive. I appreciate that data point. That's huge. And that's a massive amount of work that's not going through your platform.
Yeah.
And that could really help. So what do you see right now? Because I definitely want to ask you because you're in the forefront. What are you seeing? I mean, it's evident that business is down across the entire. I mean, it's down everywhere, no matter what sector you're in, but in voiceover, I think it's safe to say that business has definitely felt the global crisis. And what are you seeing with that? I mean, on your end, on voices, or in general in the industry, and how do we move forward with it? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think there's a couple changes that are kind of underway, or maybe trends might be better, because I wouldn't necessarily say that they're permanent by any stretch. I mean, there's some trends that I think would be worthy of discussing. The first one, you brought up, of AI voice, where clients have new and other options that
Right.
they can get work done, that maybe is, they really don't, that has no emotion, no story. It's purely informational that needs to be communicated. Sometimes that's for accessibility reasons. Sometimes that's for kind of just an industrial use case. And the content changes all of the time. It's frankly unpractical, to go ask a talent to be kind of at the ready for news updates or weather updates or these kind of alerts. I've often given the example of gate changes in an airport. You can't have a talent run into the studio every time the airline changes what gate, or there's some kind of public service announcement. So there's
Right.
clear use cases, if you will, or applications where an AI voice may make sense. Where I think the concern from talent is that protect particularly the professionals, and we share the concern, is that these voices are going to get so incredibly good that it's indistinguishable from a person. And but what we've looked at a lot of these tools and run through them, and they actually still require a lot of
Yeah, there's still a lot of
manipulation behind the back. You can't just paste in a script and like magic pops out and it's like, wow, that is like a really convincing delivery. I
right.
mean, you got to change the emphasis on certain words. You have
A
to
lot of
change
work.
the, yeah, it is a lot of work. So then it's like, well, then what is the client really benefiting from? They're instead of having to provide or getting the opportunity to provide live direction to a talent to get the exact read they want, they're in the background manipulating software, which is almost more of an engineering type task as opposed to a creative artistic direction type motion. So despite the technology being there, and yes, it's getting better, there's a additional layer of effort that isn't there when you post a job and you hire a talent. You can just have a conversation like, hey, here's my vision for this read and the spot, and here's how I see it kind of coming to life. So I think that's one thing that's kind of, it's a little,
A
playing
little
both
chunk.
sides, that it's present, but we don't see it kind of taking over the advertising space or kind of long form storytelling
No, definitely.
space, for some time. But that's definitely a trend to be conscious of. Speaking of advertising, I mean, every big ad platform or tech company out there has started to kind of report, the public companies have started to report, seeing some softness in the advertising business.
Yeah.
That is, certainly a segment that a lot of voice talent serve, as well, would be the ads. And what we've seen and heard from clients directly is that projects are being more deferred or delayed as opposed to being outright canceled. So a lot of people are almost like holding their breath to going like,
Right.
I don't know if I want to commit to this whole product launch quite yet. So can we just, talk to us again in another 60 days or another 90 days?
Right.
Some things can't change, like the seasonal calendar around back to school,
Right.
Thanksgiving, Christmas, Black Friday. That stuff is not going to change because it's pinned to a calendar. But so those campaigns are proceeding, but other more discretionary ones where maybe we could wait until next year just to get some more visibility or confidence that that customers or end customers are going to resonate with this. Those are the type of things that I would be referring to them as like deferred or delayed as opposed to outright canceled.
No, thank you for that. Well, so with that being said, I mean, what do you think then we'll move into this kind of like now we get your advice kind of section, for talent and that stuff. So with that being said, where do you see on voices a talent should be putting like their efforts? Are there some trends, niche? I mean, I know there are some definitely trending things when it comes to B2C type of work, like not
Mm-hmm.
just audiobooks but meditation and things like this.
Mm-hmm.
What advice would you give someone trying to, I want to get more work on voices? What can
Mm-hmm.
I do? Clearly the projects, but maybe some advice. What can people do to get more work on the platform?
Well, I actually wanted to open with and start with the projects because it's surprising to us. We went that 1,000 of the couple thousand premium subscribers, only less than a quarter of all the premium subscribers have even created a project listing, and these are some talent who are very, you can tell they're very successful on other platforms because they have the listings, they've got the stars, they've been hired hundreds of times. And I would think, hey, why not offer that same type of work and kind of structure on voices? So I think that would be one thing that if you haven't done it yet, I would definitely encourage you to do so.
And real quick on the projects, how many projects would you recommend a talent have a minimum up?
Oh, I'd say probably three, like as in one per kind of each of the main categories. Now, remember, in each project, you can set three different price points. There's kind of like essential, enhanced, and elite packages as well too. So you don't have to create a project for every price point. It's more like one project for the category of work.
Right.
And then so like online videos as an example, and like that is the number one category on Voices that clients are hiring for. And I know it's a bit of a broad spectrum of like, well, isn't every video online?
Right.
That's kind of what's offered for social media and so forth. But that is what clients are searching for most frequently. So I would say create a project. Definitely, if you can create one, fantastic. Put it in the online video category. If you can create three, even better. And so I would consider that. Something else that good time to brush up your profile as well too. A lot of the demos that have been uploaded previously actually have been transcribed behind the scenes. And why did we transcribe them? Because clients are on our website trying to search audio, but you can't inherently search audio. Google doesn't work that way. Voices doesn't work that way. YouTube doesn't work that way either. Actually, what it's doing is looking at the title, the description, and the transcription. So most of these platforms that are like an audio or video first and kind of centric to the experience, there's transcription of the content behind the scenes. Now, if you were unaware of that, I would go check out your transcriptions on your demos, because you can turn it on and off. If you don't want it there, and then that's, again, your control. But if you want it there, which I would encourage, because that's, the search engine is only as good as the words it can read,
Right.
then you might want to make sure that the transcription is accurate. It's using Amazon kind of transcription service, which is automated. But as we've all seen things that go completely automated like that, sometimes there's words that misinterprets and kind of
I
gets
was
wrong, or the punctuation is a little bit messy as well
so
too.
does
So I
that
think that's a good tune-up.
No, that's really cool. Thank you for that information. Well, that just sparks an idea in my mind. Does that mean though that what you're saying in the video, or I mean in your demo, plays a lot? And I've always said, the story behind that you're telling, but does the words you're actually saying play a bigger role in being found than if we're going off of the transcription idea?
Not, I mean, it's not weighted any different. We're just trying to uncover what is being said. So one
Right.
of the things that people, again, clients are searching for are often like brand names. They're like, oh, I heard that, Burger King commercial. What was that again? And then they'll type in the
Right.
brand name, and they'll want to see who are all the talent who've done a Burger King commercial, as an example. And so that's a way for us to kind of, if it's not in the title, because your commercial demo might just be commercial demo 2022. And the description might kind of say, hey, I've done work for, a handful of companies and across a variety of industries, but you don't actually, it hasn't been typed out before. So the transcription is, again, just trying to surface the content that's being spoken about in the demo, in case someone is looking specifically for that. It helps the searches that are happening on Voices, but also by extension is making you more discoverable in Google itself. So again, we see a lot of traffic where someone is just, they're at an ad agency or a video production company that they're looking for ideas and concepts, or somebody, you use the meditation app. They're like, I'm thinking about, launching a meditation app or updating some course material. And they Google that, looking for inspiration ideas. And so we're trying to provide a landing page, if you will, which is your demo with the transcription, which has an immediate call to action to be able to, post a job to you. And that would be kind of the journey that the customer journey that they would be going through to actually find and hire you for the first time.
Huh. That's really cool. Thank you for that. I hadn't thought about I mean, I've seen it, but when you put it in that way about searching, that is an interesting, because it really does make you think, you know, there's so many people who are very vague about
Mm-hmm.
what they're putting out there, right? And if you don't, when people are searching vague things, they're going to search very specific things.
Yes.
So that's extremely helpful. So I guess the last thing I wanted to ask you is, what do you see as a voice actor in the industry today? What would be a great way, or what advice would you give them? Let's say they're on Voices, and let's say they're making some money on Voices, but as we know, there's so many people there. You're the likelihood that you make all your money from one platform is kind of silly to think, and then
Mhm.
probably reckless. So, what would you give advice to voice actors who are trying to navigate in today's world, who are, what advice would you give to get enough work to sustain themselves?
Mhm. Well, I'd talk to those who, have walked the road before you. So talk to other professionals. You can find pretty much the top talent on virtually any of these platforms. Just doing a search on the platform as if you're a client, you can see the ratings and reviews. You can see, if there's a leaderboard or who's winning awards. We have the Voicey Awards every year for the most listened to across every category. So you can find those out. Now, they're not always going to be in kind of coaching mode, but they might be able to might be willing to share some advice too. So I'd just like in anything in life, I talk to people who've gained the experience that I don't have that can accelerate my learning and fast track up the learning curve. The other thing I would definitely agree with is that you should be the term we use is multi-homing. You should be on every platform that's out there. That's just,
Right.
I think it's practical, advice. Just like you wouldn't have all of your investments in one basket or anything else, you're going to, diversify your, potential income streams, because this is like, and we do the same thing at Voices. Where are we trying to attract clients? We spend almost all of our time and energy trying to bring more clients to the platform, because that's actually what the talent wants.
Right.
And so where do we go? Well, we're not just on Google. We're like, well, maybe we should also be advertising or having a presence on virtually every social platform, audio, video, writing blog. Like, we're engaged in a lot of content creation ourselves to bring clients to the platform. So by extension, I would encourage talent to think about, how do I use each of these services that are out there? Because one just might really click for you, and this is working, and you've really kind of mastered it. Other ones you're like, this is new, or it's different, or it's more complicated than I thought. And in which case, maybe I got to spend some more time there, or give it a bit more time for me to kind of be comfortable with it. But yeah, that's our advice has always been that Voices really is like, one arrow in your quiver, right? You've got multiple
Right.
arrows that you can shoot every day, of where you're going to spend your time creating projects or gigs or replying to jobs. I hope that we're one. And if you're going to multi-home, I hope to earn the ability to be kind of your primary residence, if you will. This is the main place you're spending your time. But the reality is, you're probably going to be planting roots on every one of the platforms that's out there.
Thank you so much for that advice. I really appreciate it. I do think that's important for people, especially with everything going on, to be able to make enough money, to
Yep.
survive. So, listen, David, I really appreciate it. Before you go, and everybody know, just so that we are so fortunate that David will also be coming and speaking at Avio's Journey Voiceover Conference. That's going to be in October, so we're really thrilled to have him there. And thank you for doing that as well, David. So we're excited to have you. But thank you, my friend, for spending time today with us. This has been wonderful. And if you haven't, you need to go over and get on voices.com. So thanks, David. You have a good one, my friend. Thank you,
You
sir.
got it. Thanks so much,
All right.
Anthony. Talk
Take
again
it
soon.
easy. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Well, thank you all so much for listening to this interview with David Ciccarelli from voices.com. Thank you again, David, for spending your time with us and talking to us and answering our questions. We really appreciate it. Also, by the way, just if you are still here, take a look at the link below and check out Avio's Journey Elite Academy, where we teach things just like working on voices.com and many other places, as well as our community and our live classes and all that jazz. If you're just starting out as a voice actor, or you're trying to earn some more money, that's a great place for you to go. So check out that link below, and we have half off the first month. So thank you guys so much for watching. You have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll talk to you soon. Peace.